All right, today we're diving into an analysis that lays out a pretty startling picture of our near future. The whole idea is that a single, drawn-out war could kick off a massive chain reaction, one that could completely reshape the world's economy and politics as we know it. So, let's get into it.
It's a huge question, right? But the scenario we're looking at here proposes a very specific and, frankly, very disruptive cascade of events. It all begins with just one spark that ends up lighting a global fire.
So here's the core thesis. Imagine a war of attrition, kind of like the conflict in Ukraine, but this time it's centered on Iran. According to this prediction, neither side is willing to back down, which means the conflict just drags on and on for years, creating these dramatic consequences for, well, everybody.
Okay, so how does a regional conflict go global? The analysis points to a very deliberate strategy of escalation. It's a strategy designed to hit the entire world right where it hurts the most: its energy supply.
According to this source, we're not talking about a conventional war here. This is an economic war. Iran is predicted to hit back against strikes by going after the energy infrastructure of its neighbors in the Gulf Cooperation Council. And then, with the assassination of a key statesman who might have been able to negotiate peace, that diplomatic off-ramp is just gone. Both sides are completely locked in. And that brings us to the first and most immediate global shockwave. You see, our entire modern economy, everything, was built on one simple assumption: cheap, easy to get energy. This analysis predicts that assumption is about to be completely shattered. The number you're looking at here, $200 a barrel, that's the weapon. A price that high would be a systemic shock to every single interconnected economy on the planet. It would disrupt everything, from manufacturing all the way down to your daily commute. And the impacts are predicted to be immediate. The source says flights are already being canceled in Southeast Asia because of fuel shortages. Countries like Thailand and Vietnam are already starting to run out of fuel. The analysis suggests that within just a few months, we could be looking at global food shortages and even rationing. So in response to this brand new reality of crazy expensive energy, the analysis predicts 3 major global trends are going to kick into high gear. First, deindustrialization, because countries just can't afford to power their large cities anymore. Second, remilitarization, as nations realize they can't rely on anyone else for security. And third, mercantilism, as global trade breaks down and countries scramble to create their own self-sufficient supply chains. An economic crisis this big creates a massive geopolitical power vacuum. According to this view, the era of a single superpower guaranteeing global stability, well, it's coming to a very abrupt end. So here's the crucial point, the real American dilemma. The analysis argues the US can't just pack up and leave the Middle East. Why? Because a withdrawal would risk causing the Gulf nations to ditch the petrodollar system. You know, that agreement to sell oil only in US dollars, which basically props up the American economy. So according to this source, America is well and truly stuck. And this signals the end of what's known as the Pax Americana, that whole era of relative global peace that's been guaranteed by the US since World War II. With America overstretched and losing what's called its aura of invincibility, it just can't prevent conflicts around the world anymore. A new, much more chaotic era is predicted to begin. So, as American influence fades, who's going to fill that void, especially in Asia? The source contrasts 2 very different national mindsets. You've got China, the Middle Kingdom, which is seen as historically very inward-looking and self-sufficient. And then you have Japan, an island nation, a seafaring culture that has always had to look outward and adapt just to survive. And this difference in worldview leads the analyst to a really striking conclusion, captured in this direct quote. The idea is that despite its challenges, Japan's history of resilience and its outward-looking culture are just better suited for this new, unstable world than China's export-heavy, inward-focused model. All right, let's move to that second major trend and see how this all builds: remilitarization. Because without the US acting as the world's police force, this analysis predicts that nations are going to have to start fending for themselves. This is going to be felt most acutely in Asia, where countries like Japan and South Korea are forced to rearm now that the American security guarantee is gone. Over in Europe, nations might even be forced to try and make peace with Russia. The key takeaway here is this: the world is predicted to become a much, much more dangerous place as all these regional rivalries, once kept in check, begin to flare up again. So in this great reordering, this massive global shakeup, who comes out on top and who suffers the most? The analysis offers a pretty clear and, pretty controversial breakdown.
Russia is seen as a winner, cashing in on high oil prices. Israel is called the main beneficiary, basically free to remake the Middle East as US influence just disappears. And the losers? Well, the Gulf states, whose mirage economies are said to shatter. China, whose whole export model just collapses. And ironically, Iran itself, whose infrastructure gets devastated. The West, too, faces a pretty grim prediction of serious internal strife. And all of this brings us to the final, and maybe the most profound prediction from the source material. It's not just about shifting borders or economies anymore, but about the very nature of our civilization. Now, this is probably the most startling claim in the entire analysis. The suggestion that all the simultaneous crises hitting Western nations, from immigration to economic turmoil, that these things are not accidental, but are actually part of a pattern that adds up to a controlled demolition. So, is there any way out of this? The analyst proposes only one path forward, a radical rethinking of global power. The US would need to give up its role as the world's sole hegemon and actually sit down with rivals like Russia, China, and Iran to create a new economic order, as partners, not adversaries.
Ultimately, this analysis leaves us with one critical question. It's predicting the end of the world we've known since 1945. The stability, the alliances, the economic rules, all of it is up for grabs. So as that old order fractures, the real question for all of us is who or what is going to write the rules for the next one?